Let's talk about overcoming objections during an interview. Because sometimes you can prepare, sometimes you don't know what to do in the moment, and right in the midst of the interview, all of a sudden you feel rejected. What do? Oh no, panic mode, I don't know how to answer. So for preparation, this is what we try to do. As much as possible, we try to write out all of the objections that they might say. Right? And how do we prepare for it? Let's say the job that you're going for, you freaking know that they require 3 years of experience and you only have 2. So I would play the offense game because offense is sometimes the best defense. If you already know that they want 3 years of experience and you feel inadequate because you only have 2, you go in with the starting point of, I know this position requires 3 years of experience, but I only have 2. But I have a lot of experience. This is the reasons why. And you basically try to convince and answer them that it's not about the years, but it's the quality of the experience. Because when people are looking for time and they go, oh, I want you to have 10 years experience, 5 years experience, what they're assuming is generally normal people will have X amount of understanding of something, right? But in your case, you want to tell them that, hey, I'm a little bit different from the average. You know, it's not the time, it's the quality of things. So I want you to go down your journal and write in as many objections, as many rejections, as many things that, you know, might throw you off guard, and have an answer to every one of those questions or objections. And this applies to everything. You might be in freelancing, you might be a business owner, you might be just going on a date. But how do you deal with something that sounds like they're rejecting you, or they don't like who you are, or you're not enough for what they want? For example, let's say you have a product that you're selling at your restaurant and people think it's too expensive. All that means is you're not communicating the value correctly. They don't see the value, right? Like some people, they look at this and they said, hey, this GoPro is overpriced. Why would you pay so damn much money for something that is ridiculously simple? I could get the same thing on Amazon for way cheaper, but you know, I don't need this stick. I don't need that. I don't like all this stuff is too damn expensive. They're ripping me off. Well, there's a few options you can take. You can be the first person that goes, well, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's for me. But that doesn't really help you sell the product, and that doesn't even help you connect with the person to understand why you bought it. So I personally wouldn't take that route, but a lot of people do that because for them, it's difficult to explain things and they rather not deal with conflict. Now, what I do is instead of explaining to people why it's important to me, I try to make it important to them. So everyone has different values, right? Some people, what they're looking for is something that's very affordable. Some people, what they're looking for is quality, but quality is subjective to who you're talking to, right? So if I'm talking to someone who's doing sports, their quality might be, give me a durable camera, give me something that's gonna record like in pretty much movie mode or whatever. Give me something that's gonna record and it's not gonna bounce like crazy or whatever, right? Give me a camera that's not gonna break if I fucking drop it like this. And for them, maybe video quality they'll sacrifice, but you know, the quality and the durability of the camera is what's quality to them. Other people, they might not give a fuck about that. They just literally want the highest level of technology, like the highest capture, the highest resolution, whatever. Some people might want that. And some people might want options like, hey, I want to be able to change these lenses. Maybe the camera isn't for them. But what I can do is figure out how it is for them, because even a high quality guy, I can sell this to them. For example, there's a lot of things you cannot do with a high quality camera. You can't travel. I mean, you can, but it's such a tedious thing. And you got to sell it like, hey, this is super convenient. You can bring this everywhere. It's not invasive. When you're with your family, when you're doing sports, when you're doing all kinds of activity, you just pull this out, boom, and you could record it. You could capture that memory. And this, we're not trying to make a movie with this, even though you can, even though it has the capabilities. What we're doing is we're capturing memories. You got to figure out what is the value to that individual. If they're really into sports, easy sell, right? This is like the sports standard. You could go snowboarding, you could go fucking mountain biking, you could go drifting in the car. Everyone loves using a GoPro, and they got into the field of extreme sports and all that stuff. No one else is using really any other camera. Like, you can, but everyone uses a GoPro for that. But what about the vlogger? What about the person that's just recording and going out? I would be like, hey, this is all about convenience. If you're always on the go, you're super busy, all you gotta do is press this button, it starts recording really, really fast. And sometimes if you don't have access to your camera or your lens or whatever, you might not be able to put everything together fast enough to capture that moment. This is what I always do, okay? Because usually people who are frugal, they're also pretty sensible. And I tell them, hey, I had a GoPro that was the 5. That lasted me about 3 years. Like, even though a new one came out, that really lasted me a long time, and it's because the durability of it and the technology did get better, but at the same time, I didn't need all that much. So if you think about it, what I was doing is I'm dividing the price by 3 years. And what ends up happening is it pays for itself. It lasts a long time. What about these other cheapy cameras? Usually in my own experience, when I'm buying cheaper things, I have to constantly replace them. They break. They might be fine for like 6 months, but with the way I handle things, they're not durable enough. And they might have like a really good insurance thing or a warranty thing or whatever. And if you could give that security to telling someone that, hey, buying something solid and it's going to last you in the long run, and most cheap people, they'll see the price. They'll be like, okay, it's expensive now, but then over time, I can see how it's actually cheaper because I'm saving all this money. That's how I would appeal to their needs. And it's the same thing, like whenever you go in any situation where you need to sell yourself or whatever, you gotta show them how your product or who you are or your service can fall in line with their needs and their story. It's almost like going on a date. Again, like I said, you go on a date. What ends up happening? You're not sitting there being like, girl, I could buy you the world. I'll buy you some red shoes. Like, what are you? Are you some village person that's like, I'll give you all the goats of the village? You're trying to buy her love? Like, that's not the point, right? The point is to sell some type of awesome adventure together. But you're not trying to buy, like, you're not like, girl, I'll buy you 2 cows. We'll be so rich. You'll make all the cheese. You can move away to a farm with me. Like, that's not the way we do things, right? But that's what it sounds like if you do it that way. As much as possible, you want to sell your personality, and you can show the journey will be really, really fun. And that's the case with all of this stuff. Whether you're selling a product, whether you're going into a job interview, whether you're offering services as a freelancer, photographer, anything. You're just showing how you are the best person, or your product is. It is the best thing for their needs, for their story, for their solution. And every time you hear an objection or a rejection, all it means is it's opportunity for you to be able to express yourself and have a conversation. It doesn't mean that it's the final no and they'll never accept you ever again. I always take it as, hey, maybe it's just no right now, but later on it might be a yes when the timing is right. Or maybe they just don't understand me, and maybe they don't understand how the value is actually great for the both of us. And the more you get better at that, I think you'll realize that when people tend to say no, it's because they don't fully understand things yet. So don't take it personal. Keep practicing, and no matter what, the better you get at this, before you know it, rejection, objections, all these things, they're not hurtful anymore, and they're not something to be afraid of.